Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Sunday, December 15th. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith with you, ready to break down the Sunday card. We got 5 games on tap here for this Sunday. They're all either afternoon or early evening games. Nothing real late tonight in the NHL, but 5 games. We'll get to those in a moment. We're going to do a rip through the recap yesterday. It was pretty much up and down all over the map results-wise for me from a betting standpoint yesterday. The day started with a LA Kings beatdown over the New York Rangers, 5-1. You know, in retrospect, it was kind of like, why wasn't I on the Kings yesterday? But, you know, given the Rangers' struggles, but sure enough, LA, they did lose the previous game against New Jersey, but boy, they sure bounced back. 5-1, problems continue for the Rangers. Chicago, 1-1 going into the third, but unfortunately the floodgates opened and the roof caved in on the Blackhawks in the third period, and a 4-1 win it was for the New Jersey Devils over Chicago. This is the game that hurt a little bit in the afternoon for me. Philly and Minnesota. Credit to Minnesota, even with the key cogs out defensively, they clamped down and they ended up getting 4-1 victory over the Philadelphia Flyers. Not just one of those days the puck didn't go in. Fleury was very good, by the way. That was an excellent performance from him. Of course, there was that one chance the Flyers had where Mishkov basically keeps Konechny from scoring. You know, basically it was a wide open net. Get your stick out of there, man. You would have had a goal if you're Konechny. But unfortunately, he ends up putting the stick on it. The puck deflects wide. And Minnesota with a 4-1 win. Great bounce back from them after they got throttled by Edmonton at home the game before that. They're still banged up. I still got questions about whether they can duplicate that defensive effort again with the cogs that are out. We'll get to that when we talk Vegas, Minnesota for tonight in just a bit. Speaking of Vegas, Edmonton 6-3 over the Golden Knights. I was on Edmonton, was happy to see that. But Oilers just open up a can on that Vegas Golden Knights team. And after losing twice this year already to the Golden Knights, the Oilers exact some payback there with a 6-3 victory. Winnipeg 4-2 against Montreal. Better effort from Montreal, but not good enough in that game. Ottawa, 3-2 win against Pittsburgh in overtime. They are playing good hockey. Ottawa's a team I might be looking to back on that road trip. It's a 9-game road trip. It was important to get a win last night before going on the road, because why are they on the road for 9 games through the holidays? Because the World Junior Hockey Championship is taking over Ottawa, that building. So they'll be, that's basically, they've been kicked out of their home by the World Junior Hockey Championship taking place in Ottawa. So it's going to be a long road trip over the holidays. And I like the timing of it from an Ottawa standpoint. It's why I think it's a bet on time for them on this road trip. They get away from the holiday distractions. They're going to be on the road, you know, focus on winning hockey games, focus on trying to, you know, further your push for the playoffs. So that's why I think there's going to be money to be made for Ottawa on this road trip. And they go into the road trip on a winning note with the back-to-back wins against Carolina and Pittsburgh this weekend. Washington 4-2 against Buffalo. Another loss for the Sabres. Was that 9 in a row now that the Sabres have lost? And they play against Toronto, so it's not going to get any easier today for them. Winnipeg, like I said, 4-2 against Montreal. Anaheim, the underdog, comes through for me. 4-3 win against Columbus in overtime. We had the over by Fekta. That was a great game from a betting standpoint. We swept it. St. Louis, Dallas, we were both on the draw, Alex and I, with the Blues and the Stars. 2-1 win for Dallas in overtime. And suddenly the Blues, 2 losses in a row for the first time under Jim Montgomery. And look, they deserved to lose. Dallas was the better team. They had the better chances. I think they carried the play more. Binnington was really good in net. And a wonderful goal in overtime by Duchesne, who's had a couple of really nice goals lately. He gets another one in overtime for the 2-1 win over the Blues. 5-2 Colorado against Nashville. What a debut for Mackenzie Blackwood. He was awesome. He was really, really good in his first start for the Avalanche. And now he's got a better team to play with. So maybe some good signs from Mackenzie Blackwood. Now, you get him probably one of the best teams he's played on when you consider the bad New Jersey teams he was on in San Jose. Now you get him in Colorado, maybe a chance for him to play his best hockey. How about Florida? Shutout in back-to-back games. System play, no chance last night. 3-0 Flames. Great performance by Wolf, but they didn't generate a ton of great looks, Florida. there's real problems right now. They just haven't generated much. Like their offense looks like it's stagnant right now, and it's not going to get any easier because they're going to Edmonton Monday night to face the Oilers, who are rolling right now and revenge-minded. First meeting since the Stanley Cup final. It's not going to get any easier for the champs to get out of their little lull and their little slump here Monday night when they go to face Edmonton and the Oilers in that Monday night game. Tampa Bay 5-1 against Seattle. Johansson, give him credit. He started this game. He played well. And the Lightning with the 5-1 win. Terrible game from Vancouver. They lose 5-1 to Boston. Absolutely terrible. You could tell right away early in that game they weren't ready to play. Boston jumped on them. It was a horrible performance from them. And a 5-1 Bruins win. Much needed for the Bruins after back-to-back losses to the Jets and the Kraken. And then we wrapped up the night with an entertaining finish. Clayton Keller in the final minute giving Utah a 4-3 win against San Jose. I had the over in that game, so it was good to see that. That's about as rapid fire as I could do a recap for all the games that took place on Saturday. But Alex is playing through a little bit of congestion here, so we're trying to speed up the process. Alex, your thoughts on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, from a betting standpoint, my picks were absolute dog shit. There's not much to talk about with that. And let's just break down some of the game things that I noticed. When obviously with the Hawks game being early, watching that against New Jersey, Drew Commesso looked fantastic for about 38 minutes. And really, he didn't have a bad game, a bad moment, I should say, in the game until the third, and then the defense broke down right along with him. It's still a problem only seeing this Hawks team generate one goal in a game like that. When we talked about the game, I said there would be a spot and a possibility of the floodgates opening with this kid making his debut, but I thought it would be a 2-2 contest before we saw that happen. And the fact that it was 1-0, 1-1 heading in that third period, it shows, okay, the team did rally around and try to play a little bit better defensively in front of it, but it's still not enough. And New Jersey, just too talented of a team late, put that game away. Same thing with that with Minnesota and Philly. And I mentioned about how that, with the tricky spot in a lot, everybody kind of liked Philly coming in as a dog, thinking that might be a tough spot for the Wild. But the Wild, those daytime, weekend games, they will sometimes come out early and just keep the pressure going. And like I said, they jumped out of a 3-0 lead, never really looked back. And that was just a cruising win, something that they needed to kind of balance things out. St. Louis and Dallas, like you mentioned, St. Louis was outplayed by the Stars. Glad to get that game going past regulation, cash a draw. But it would have been nice to also see St. Louis cash the 2-1 dog in that spot. But like you said, still feisty even in a loss against Dallas. So those are the three games that I watched the most to kind of takeaways from yesterday.
No doubt. And by the way, we got a push and I forgot to mention with the Buffalo Washington, I was on the over by Fecta there. We got the win on the first period over, the push with the full game over because it landed on 6. Yeah, it was a bit of a slight losing day for me. They're not the best, but like I said, the system play hurt. The Philly-Minnesota game hurt as well as far as the end bottom line yesterday with the results. All right, let's get into Sunday. Oh, by the way, I do want to mention one thing before we get into Sunday. We didn't talk about it yesterday, and I know we did want to mention something about it. Hockey community is a tight-knit community, and a lot of times we rally around for each other. I've got to admit, in the last 48 hours, I'm kind of disappointed the lack of attention, focus that we've seen for Robin Lehner. Obviously he had a lot of troubling, alarming social media posts about his personal situation, clearly in distress, clearly, suffering, depression, real heartache right now with, and he's gone through a lot. Like there's some skeletons in the closet of his family and some of his, parents and relatives from the past. He's obviously had a tumultuous hockey career with injuries and setbacks and going from one team to the next, getting released and all kinds of stuff with that. And obviously he had to file for bankruptcy a couple of years ago. And clearly that's, going to cause some stress. That's going to cause some mental struggles and question and have your mental health come into play without question. He's just dealt with way more than a human being should, the last few years. And it's just, I don't feel like there's a lot of people in the hockey world that have really paid as much attention to his almost cry for help it was. With the posts he made on Twitter X. But I got to give it up to Hockey Night in Canada last night, and especially Elliot Friedman, who apparently when he does his little second intermission around the NHL news and notes segment, he wanted to take some time out to address Robin Lehner directly and say, don't feel like you're going through this alone. Okay, we want to be here for you. You're a good guy. You've gone through a lot. We just want you to get through this, and reach out to someone. And we want to be there for you. And Elliot Friedman was the one that took the lead on that. That said, I want to say something about this on Hockey Night in Canada last night. So I can't say enough good things about Elliot for that, for actually acknowledging it, offering words of encouragement and support for Robin Leonard during this time. So, like I said, big thumbs up. Like I said on Twitter X, I've had my criticisms about the direction of the Hockey Night in Canada studio show in comparison to, how good we see it is right now with TNT, for example. But that was the best thing I've seen on Hockey Night in Canada in a long time. Elliot Friedman, as a caring, compassionate fellow human being, taking the time to address someone clearly in some distress right now, and acknowledging Robin Leonard and offering encouragement to him on the broadcast last night. That was great.
Yeah, I didn't get to see the clip that you're talking about with Freeman, but I know you mentioned it, and we were kind of briefly just discussing it yesterday because I read this yesterday morning when the tweets came out. I was alerted to it by a couple people who DM'd me waking up yesterday, and I had to read through it a couple of times because it's very long. It's several posts, and like I said, obviously, like I said, we know all the different things that has the stories and issues that he's dealt with that we know about have been, like I said, a lot of things that he's had to deal with, and a lot of pushback. And of course, his physical injuries as well on top of that, over these last, 6 or 7 years, most notably. But then the things that were uncovered in the post, and I think that's the biggest takeaway. Yes, we need to be listening to the fact that he's crying for help in writing this long post. He says himself that he's not in the best mental place, but we also need to listen and read exactly what he's talking about, because a lot of things that he mentioned in those posts are couple of things that need to be looked at and reviewed by the National Hockey League and Gary Bettman.
Yes.
And those are the comments that he made referring to the Vegas Golden Knights, Coach Pete DeBoer, and some others. Those things need to certainly be examined, because they kind of cross-reference some other issues that were brought up and dealt with within the Vegas organization involving other players. And timelines kind of seem to maybe even out. It's something that the league needs to look into, and it's something that just everybody needs to just be paying attention to around the league and around the hockey community, what he's talking about, and some of the issues that he's dealt with his family back over in Europe that could be issues that other players may be dealing with as well. So let's not just heed his words and just say, oh, okay, well he needs help, and hopefully he gets help, and just push it along aside. He was saying everything in those posts for a reason. And I think we need to take that with a little bit of levity and look into some of those things that he's talking about. Because how many stories have we heard 20, 30 years after the fact on podcasts like ours or Spin Chicklets or whoever, and they're talking about things, these things could have been prevented or could have been addressed in the moment back in the day at that time, and they weren't, and then they end up being stories later, and the guys have to deal with it on their own, or not dealing with it, and something worse happens. So take care of this issue while we can, for him and for the league too, because like I said, one of the things that was mentioned, I'm not going to go into all the detail. You have to read the tweet, but one of the things that was mentioned in there is something that I've always kind of been worried about involving international players for a long time, and that's all I'll say in regards to that. If you read the tweet, you'll be able to put two and two together. But it was, the whole thing was definitely concerning and disturbing on many levels.
It was. And this is one time, too, where the Bill Daly and Gary Bettman and the NHL needs to reach out and get someone in contact, and, try to get maybe a meet with the guy, something, to try to help him and try to address his clear concerns right now. And maybe even to the Alumni Association. And I must admit, the Alumni Association, which I know Glenn Healy is a big part of that right now. And they do a great job, dealing with players after they retire, and setting them up for a better life and better situation, and helping them through there, because it's depressing for some people after they retire from the NHL. What am I going to do? And it's difficult, even though he's technically not an alumni, because he's not technically retired. Robin Leonard, you'd like to think Glenn Healy and his Alumni Association maybe steps in and picks up the phone and says, Robin, how can we help you? And hopefully they're able to do that. But absolutely, it was just sad to see what we saw from Robin Leonard with those posts. We just hope he gets the help he needs, and we hope he, works through all the issues he's going through. All right, not an easy transition, but transition we will to Sunday in the NHL. And we will begin with the Chicago Blackhawks, Alex's team, back in action on a back-to-back here, hosting the New York Islanders. We've got the New York Islanders minus 190 road favorites, 5.5 the total. It's a rematch, of course. We just saw these two teams in action days ago, and it was the Islanders who were up 5-1 at one point and then had to hang on, and Patrick Roy just read them the riot act, basically, for coughing up 3 goals late in that third period and kind of hanging Ilya Sorokin out to dry. So it'll be interesting to see how the Islanders respond following, as this is their first game since that game. Meanwhile, the Blackhawks did play in between that Islander game and this one in the rematch, as they lost 4-1 to New Jersey yesterday. So back-to-back, big rest advantage for the Islanders. 2 days off. It's back-to-back here for Chicago coming into this game. I'd like to fade the Islanders at this price and take Chicago at this price. I just hate betting a team that's got a significant rest disadvantage like Chicago does going into this game. That's concerning to me. You look at the goaltending matchup that we should see for this matinee affair, 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. local time in Chicago. Sorokin confirmed once again for the Islanders. Arvid Soderblom should be in net for Chicago, although it's not confirmed as of yet. By the way, I do want to point out, still Alec Martinez out. Seth Jones still out on IR for the Chicago Blackhawks. Still without Riley on the blue line for the New York Islanders. But the good news is, I believe Pelech just recently returned, which is big. But Bo Horvat, day-to-day with a lower body injury. We'll see if he plays in this game, but it happened in the previous game against Chicago. But chance he may not go here for the Islanders in this game. It's probably a game where I'm going to just dabble in Chicago, but I can't go with anything more than a small bet on Chicago because, look, it is a significant rest advantage for the Islanders with 2 days off, Chicago on the back-to-back. And I remember the last time Chicago was in a Sunday afternoon spot, I thought it was a great spot for them and certainly a beatable opponent, and they ended up losing to Columbus that day. I still remember it. So it's not easy to trust them, but just based on the Islanders, minus 190 road favorites, nah. That's not something I'm endorsing, and I'll grab a small bet on Chicago, but there's enough circumstances about them that concern me to just keep it a small look. But I feel like I got to get in for something against the Islanders in this kind of a price range on the road. Alex, what do you think here? Islanders, Blackhawks.
Yeah, I'm just playing the draw here with this one. I feel like this could be a kind of a close game, especially after seeing what happened in Long Island, except with that blowout. I think we saw some, like I said, quality defense for the first 2 periods of play with the Hawks, and then all of a sudden everything kind of unraveled in the third. So I can see where Sorensen, not to the extreme of where it's going to be so defensive that we don't see any goals, but I do think we'll see more of an onus on puck possession and being responsible in the back end. Like I said, Soderblom's looked pretty good, even though with the losses, the goals that he's been beat on were goals that he wasn't going to stop, or any goal he was going to stop. So if that's the case, then you can't get too mad at that. So plus 325 at BetMGM. I'm just only going to draw here.
I liking the draw here in this one is Alex. All right, we got Columbus and Carolina. Carolina minus 370, home favorites, 6 the total. This is a 5 p.m. Eastern start time. Carolina's used to having these kind of start times on a Sunday afternoon. They've done these many times over the years. Now, the system play did not go well last night. Obviously, it was Florida-Calgary. It didn't really have a shot. The first period stayed under, and like I said, Florida gets shut out again, back-to-back games. But even after the defeat with the system play last night, it's still a really good record for the year. 33-21 for the first period over, 31-17-6 for the full game over this year for the teams off a shutout loss. And in this game, we have Carolina, obviously, off a shutout loss to Ottawa, 3-0 on Friday night. It was a really nice road game for the Sens. Bottled up Carolina. I didn't think Carolina generated too much. That should certainly change here against Columbus, who, as we know, is not exactly a defensive stalwart, and that's to say the least. I'm being kind when I say that about the Columbus Blue Jackets. They're coming off a 4-3 loss to Anaheim in overtime last night. Looks like as of now, we don't have goalies confirmed, but we project Elvis Merzlikins here in net tonight for the Columbus Blue Jackets in this game. He didn't play against Anaheim, so you got to think he'll be in net here. He's given up 9 goals in his 9 goals in 2 of his last 3 starts. So it's been tough sledding here for Elvis of late. This should be a spot. Now, look, Carolina, talked about it. All those games where they had scored at least 4 goals. Remember that team total over 3.5 run that I was on for quite a bit? Well, suddenly here's Carolina. They haven't topped, 4 goals in a game in, 6 of their last 7. 6 of their last 7 games, they've scored 3 or less. So this offense has definitely cooled off for the Carolina Hurricanes. No question about that. But man, if there's ever a spot for them to get some goals going, to get the offense revved up, to get back on track offensively, certainly against a Columbus team that's not keeping the puck out of the net, and Merzlikins, who continues to struggle. Not all his fault, but just a product of a young team and a very depth-shy blue line to play in front of. We've seen Columbus give up 4 goals or more to the opponent now in 4 of their last 6 games. Head-to-head series. We've seen the last 2 meetings go over the total in this series. Carolina, I think, certainly off the shutout loss, has a good chance to bounce back offensively. So we'll roll with the over by Fecta. That's my only 2 bets here in this game. First period over, 1.5 minus 138, which, by the way, continues to be on a great run for Columbus. I believe 13-3 for first period over Columbus in their last 16 games. And obviously with Carolina off the shutout loss, oftentimes we see them strike maybe for a goal or 2 early in these spots. Doesn't always happen, but more often it does, especially against subpar teams. So first period over, and also that full game over, which you can actually get at over 6 minus 120 at BetMGM. So that's what we'll rock with here, the system play over by Fecta. Alex, what do you think here? Columbus, Carolina.
Yeah, this game's a pass for me. I know, like I said, we've had issues before with the over by factors with Carolina at times, and it's just kind of a hard spot to read, especially when you talk about this big of a favorite, right? This is one of those games that could be a 2-2 game going to OT, or Carolina rolls them 7-1. So I want nothing to do with this with the pass.
No doubt, nothing wrong with that. As far as and I look at this too with the goal props. I agree with Roslovic, no question about that. Former member of the Jackets, makes all the sense in the world to maybe look in his direction as far as goal prop is concerned in this game. Obviously, he's actually, and plus he's getting the opportunity again in the lineup to produce. So no doubt, Roslovic's a good call as far as a goal prop worth a look here in this one. All right, this is also 5 p.m. Eastern. This is bizarre to me. I don't know if I've ever seen this, honestly. And look, Toronto Maple Leafs, and every NHL team basically been watching for 30 years. I'm not sure I've seen the Leafs have a home game on a Sunday afternoon at 5 o'clock before. I've seen them play at home on a Sunday, but usually it's 7 o'clock or it's still a night game. 5 p.m. Eastern? What a weird deal this is that Toronto's playing a home game on a Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern, but they are against the Buffalo Sabres. We've got Toronto minus 200, minus 210, home favorites, 6 the total here in this game. This is a scary, like Toronto's, it almost feels like after losing to Detroit last night, you definitely should win this game. Buffalo is just completely in shambles. 9 straight losses for this team, yet Buffalo always is a pain in the neck to Toronto. Buffalo's won, 7 of the last or 6 of the last 10 meetings, 3 of the last 5. Now Toronto has gotten them the last 2 at the end of last year, the 2 meetings in March between these teams. Leafs won both of them 2-1 and 3-0. So we'll see how this one plays out. The draw is definitely kind of appealing to me. I lean kind of to that here in this game, the draw a little bit. I'm kind of interested in the Leafs first period puck line in this game to come out strong, kind of jump on Buffalo early. Because if you look, both teams played last night. Both teams have to travel into Toronto, but Toronto has to go from Detroit. Buffalo has to go from Washington. So it's a little bit easier travel here for the Leafs. It's just a very, very quick, plane ride to get from the Red Wings or to get from Detroit to Toronto. So there's no question it's a little easier for them. Dennis Hildeby, I believe, is going to get the start here. Now, I think Anthony Stolarz is completely out of commission for the weekend. You probably won't see him return until later in the week. And so there's probably a good chance we see Dennis Hildeby get this start on the back-to-back after it was Joe Woll last night. It would probably be James Reimer for Buffalo against, of course, one of his many former teams, the Toronto Maple Leafs. So I'm sure he'll be fired up to play in this one. But I think I'll sprinkle on Toronto that first period puck line. That's it, though. I wouldn't want to do anything with the minus 200, but I think after losing last night and not having the best first period either in that game, to take plus 144 with the Leafs laying up half a goal in the first period on the puck line, I think it's not a bad look. And I think they come out strong early to support the Hildebeest. Try to get him comfortable, get him a lead early. A team that's obviously got a ton of issues right now, Buffalo. Like, just jump on them early. You're the better team. You're off a loss. Get the lead in the first 20 minutes. So I do kind of like the situationals that point to Toronto here. First period puck line, -0.5, +144. Sprinkle on the draw. That's about it for me here in this game. Alex, what do you think? Buffalo, Toronto.
Yeah, I think if you like the first period puck line, I would say maybe look for a live under to come back on as well. I think if Toronto could jump out, maybe get a 2-goal lead early, that they could, for the most part, sit on it. I don't see Buffalo really pressing. Like I said, the way that they're playing right now is such bad form that 2 or 3 goals could be all they need to wrap this thing up. And like I said, Hildeby, even for a call up, he's a solid goalie, good size. He's the guy who can make some big saves. So that's something that I'll be targeting. I won't have anything pregame, but I'll be looking for some goals early and then try to jump in on a live under.
All right, as far as props again for the Toronto Maple Leafs, Nyes and Pacioretty stand out. Nyes finally gets, and that's what I like about maybe going with Nyes again today. He kind of slumped a little bit the last, I would say, week to 2 weeks. And now, of course, he gets the goal last night against Detroit. And for a guy that's been pretty good offensively most of the year, even despite the mini slide he's been on lately, maybe that gets him going again. So I think situationally it makes sense to maybe go in that direction as far as him for a goal prop potentially in this game here this afternoon. All right, next up, that's not Vegas Edmonton. That was one of the games yesterday. It is the New York Rangers and the St. Louis Blues. We've got the Rangers -135 road favorites. The total in this game sitting at 6, shaded to the over. In this one, of course, it was ugly again for the New York Rangers on Saturday. 5-1 loss at home to the LA Kings. And now you're playing on a back-to-back. So is St. Louis, and St. Louis had to play at night. The Rangers had to play early Saturday afternoon. So a little advantage there for the New York Rangers. But other than that little advantage, I can't imagine how many people are excited to lay -135 with this bunch right now on the road the way they're going. It's just been a rough go. We thought maybe with Trouba, because we did parrot this narrative a little bit, that maybe, just maybe, with Trouba out of there, this team could relax a little bit. All that controversy's gone, and maybe could get on a bit of a run and get their game back. And sure enough, 3 of their last 4 they've lost. They lose to Chicago 2-1 at home. The 7-5 loss to Seattle. Their only 2 wins were Pittsburgh and Buffalo. And Buffalo can't get out of their own way. And then sure enough, I said, I can't look at that win over Buffalo and say, hey, things are good again with the Rangers. And I'm glad I believed that, because they turn around and they lose 5-1 at home to LA. So that's something that, continues to be an issue. Just they can't get any sort of footing going. I find their offensive executions totally off the mark right now. There's no doubt their defensive game, you thought maybe with Trouba out of there, that would get better. Not when you're giving up 5 goals to the LA Kings at home. So there's definitely all kinds of issues still with the New York Rangers at this point in time. St. Louis, they've finally lost 2 games in a row for the first time since the coaching change under Jim Montgomery. 4-3 at home to San Jose, 2-1 last night to Dallas. Dallas did heavily outplay St. Louis for a large part of that game. So it was really Binnington got him a point, at least got 1 point out of it in that overtime loss against Dallas, which was good for Alex and I, because we definitely liked the draw in that game with the Stars and the Blues last night. You look at the series history, and look, the St. Louis, even against Ranger teams that were in much better form than this current one is, they've given the Rangers some trouble. They've won 2 in a row in St. Louis. No, go back further. They've won 4 in a row here in St. Louis against the New York Rangers. So this is just until the Rangers show me something here. St. Louis +115. You can't lay a price right now with the New York Rangers. So it's the Blues for me. It should be Joel Hofer in net here for the Blues, given the fact it was Binnington last night. It definitely should be Jonathan Quick. I expect it will be Jonathan Quick here for the New York Rangers. Hofer's actually been better here in some of his last few starts. He's on a 2-start win streak, gave up just 1 goal in a really solid effort against Winnipeg, 2 goals, and already beat the Rangers 5-2 at Madison Square Garden earlier this season. So he's already got a win, Joel Hofer, against this Rangers team. So, yeah, St. Louis +115. Alex, what do you think here? Rangers, Blues?
Yeah, I laid 115 with the over 6 in the full game. This one, like you mentioned, they played up before with Hofer and net, and the final score was 5-2. I think with St. Louis kind of having that kind of low and slow back and forth game with Dallas last night,
Yep,
I think
I
things
could
can
see it.
open up here with them coming back home too as well, and playing against a Ranger team that, like I said, they're just a mess. They need to try to figure things out at both ends of the ice. So a good wide open game, and that would still lead to St. Louis possibly winning the game potentially. I wouldn't be looking at the Rangers certainly laying a price on the road, but I like this over a bit more. So just over 6 for me.
Yeah, I like that too. It's funny. This was 5.5. I really would have liked it at 5.5 because this was briefly 5.5 and then it went up to 6. But you're right. I think we could see some goals here. The Rangers off of only scoring one against LA. They did have 32 shots against LA, but again, not enough finish. I think the St. Louis Blues know they've got to be more attack minded here tonight after only generating 16 shots on goal against Dallas last night. I believe the last two of the last three meetings have gone over the total between these two teams. As you mentioned, it was 5-2 in the Madison Square Garden just recently between these two teams. So yeah, I think the over 6 is a good look here as well, and I'll probably add that on in addition to St. Louis. Stop the press is Dylan Holloway, our guy. Hasn't scored in back-to-back games. I think he's on a cold spell right now. Look out. It's ice cold right now. 2 games without a goal for Dylan Holloway. No, it was great while it lasted. But first of all, he's definitely, not going to score every single game like he was. And now the prices are closer to that plus 300 range on him. So we're not getting that. It's still a good price, but you're not getting those like plus 450s and plus 500s we were getting when the St. Louis Blues started this little run. So interesting to see if the Rangers can get something going here, or if the Blues add to their misery. But it's pretty amazing to see just the Ottawa Senators with that win last night passed the New York Rangers. They passed the New York Rangers last night in the standings. And if the season ends today, the Rangers aren't in the playoffs. That is how far they have fallen with this horrible run that they've been on. All right, final game of this Sunday slate. We've got the Vegas Golden Knights taking on the Minnesota Wild. Minnesota minus 125, home favorites, 6 the total here in this game. Minnesota, we talked about it yesterday. I honestly was very impressed. I mean, with all the key injuries that they were dealing with yesterday, and we talked about how it would impact them at the defensive end of the ice. But still, they managed to put forth a really solid team effort defensively, which I think they were really motivated to do it after giving up 7 to Edmonton the game before that. Still without, though, Eric Sinek, Jacob Middleton still out. Concerning, of course, no question. The good news is Jonas Brodin returned yesterday. I did not expect that, and he did make some difference. No question about that on the blue line to be able to have certainly a very solid effort there in that game. We'll see how this one plays out. Still, you're without, of course, Eric Sinek and Middleton. Vegas is coming off the 6-3 loss to Edmonton yesterday. Minnesota, the 4-1 win to Philly against Philly. We'll see how this one plays out. Vegas has certainly had the better of it against Minnesota historically. We're looking at an 8-2 run for the Vegas Golden Knights in the last 10 meetings versus Minnesota. And, I'd rather have the team off a loss like that yesterday to Edmonton, 6-3. Team wasn't that thrilled about it than taking a Minnesota team off a nice bounce back win, 4-1 last night against the or yesterday afternoon rather against the Philadelphia Flyers. So I'll probably sprinkle on Vegas a little bit here, plus 105. The draw could be in play as well. That's what I'm most interested in as far as goaltending for this particular matchup. Obviously, we saw Marc-Andre Fleury in net for Minnesota yesterday, so that means we absolutely should see Philip Gustafsson get the starting assignment here for Minnesota here tonight on the back-to-back. Meanwhile, it was Adin Hill yesterday. Probably get to see Ilya Samsonov here in net for the Vegas Golden Knights in this game. Like I said, lean Vegas. Don't love it, but I'd rather have the team off a bad loss than a team off a satisfying win. Alex, what do you think here? Vegas, Minnesota.
Yeah, I like this draw actually. I got it at plus 320 at BetMGM. I think this could be kind of a closer battle. And like I say, even though Vegas has had the kind of dominated the series run. But like I said, Minnesota at home, even with off of a win, I don't expect them to just kind of lay back and lay an egg here. I think this will be just a good balanced battle. So plus 320 at BetMGM, the highest price I'm seeing. Like I said, not a lot of great prices with the draws today, but I think that one's going to go past 60.
3 of the last 7 for Minnesota, by the way, have gone past regulation of late. And for Vegas, they obviously had the Winnipeg game just recently. It went to overtime, so we'll see how this one plays out. And the last 2 meetings in Minnesota, which have both gone past regulation. So definitely could see that play out, that we could see overtime or a shootout tonight with the Golden Knights and the Wild. All right, there you go. That's the Sunday slate. Shout out to everyone in the chat. We appreciate it very much. Hit the like button. On the way out. And again, we've got tomorrow's Alex's last day on the show for the week. He's going to be getting ready to travel home to Chicago. He'll be off for a few days. We do have some arrangements in place for someone to join me on a couple of the shows this week during the week. And of course, Matt Robinson, unless something comes up with work, Matt will be with me on Tuesday and Thursday as always. But like I said, Alex going home for the holidays. Yep. We're going home for the holidays later this week.
And I will, just so you know, those, sign up to patreon.com because my plays will be posted in the Patreon plays. I will have a bargain bin play every day. I will have a best bet every day. Now, I mean, I have a big card every day.
He's off the show, but he will be betting every day. Exactly.
And I will at least have bargain bin and best bet in Patreon every day that I'm gone. So don't worry about that.
No question about that. All right, good stuff. All right, next up, patreon.com. That's what we're going to say. I thought there was another game. There isn't. That's why I said next up, because next up's usually my transition to the next game. No, we're done. That's all the games. All right, patreon.com/Ice Guys, just $10 per month. Make sure you sign up and subscribe, of course. We posted the Phil Sykes Player Suite interview yesterday. Make sure you check that out. It was a great interview. Former NHLer, Kings and Jets primarily. In his NHL career in the 80s and early 90s. So great to get some stories and recollections from his career back in a much different era of hockey back then. Certainly we were reminded of that talking to Phil Sykes, obviously, in that Player Suite interview. So good stuff. Patreon.com/Ice Guys. Goalie charts, totals charts. Again, we've got the Player Suite interview with Phil posted there. And of course, our daily betting card, sides, totals, player props posted each and every day on the Patreon page, just $10 per month. And again, your subscription goes a long way to supporting the show in the long term. Patreon.com/Ice Guys, just $10 per month.
Also, check out the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. Standard shipping will not get you things in time for Christmas. You have to use premium shipping or higher if you want things in time for the 24th or 25th. But if you want just things to arrive at any time, you can just use the standard shipping. Go to iceguys.myspreadshop.com. We've got everything in stock right now, the hoodies, all the caps, all the T-shirts. I got a winter hat that's sitting under my Christmas tree in Chicago right now. I got some gifts for some family members as well. So iceguys.myspreadshop.com. Check out the Ice Guys store today.
All right, great stuff. All right, we got bargain bin special of the night and best bets coming up in just a moment, right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors.
Support for the Ice Guys podcast is provided by Boston Hemp Incorporated, Manscaped, Power Play Sportsbook, Raise Your Game, Tailgaters Social, and a big thank you to all that subscribe to the Ice Guys Patreon page. Everyone loves a perfect pair. Bacon and eggs, thunder and lightning, Mario and Luigi, a hot dog with fries, Ian and Alex B. That's right, everyone loves a perfect pair. So why not pair up your game nights with Boston Hemp? From exotic flower to concentrates and edible products, you'd be hard-pressed to find a better pairing than Boston Hemp and hockey. Check them out today at bostonhempinc.com. That's bostonhempinc.com. Boston Hemp Incorporated, the official smoke sponsor of the Ice Guys. Void where prohibited by law. Not available outside of the United States. Must be 21 or over to obtain products. Check your local regulations to see if Boston Hemp is available in your area.
All right, shout out to all our great Ice Guys sponsors, including Boston Hemp Inc., our daily show sponsor and official sponsor of the Betcasts as well. Boston Hemp Inc., 20% off all orders on the website using the promo code IceGuys at bostonhempinc.com. All right, bargain bin special of the night for this 5-game Sunday slate. Alex, what do you like in the bargain bin?
Yeah, let's head over to the west side of Chicago. You got a matinee fair. The Hawks taking on the Isles. And one guy who has really been, he's been buzzing all year long. He's leading the league, leading the team with 10 goals. And he's been involved more so in the top line since Andre Stores have taken over for Chicago Blackhawks. Ryan Donato, formerly known as Elephant Hands. This man has actually been able to handle the puck quite well this season. And looking at him at FanDuel, anytime goal plus 330. A little cheap, but it's not the best of a bargain. Still worthy of a shot here. I think he's going to be able to get a one on the board for the Hawks today. Ryan Donato, anytime goal at FanDuel, plus 330. That is my Sunday afternoon bargain bin special.
There you go. Elephant Hands, Ryan Donato. Donato's Pizza, that's right, for the Chicago Blackhawks for bargain bin special of the night for Alex B. Smith. My bargain bin special of the night, he's right on bargain bin price range at plus 300 on the nose at BetMGM. Jack Roslovic, Carolina Hurricanes against his old team, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Not only has he been great this season, not as good lately, but the whole team's been in a little bit of a slide offensively, Carolina in recent games. But overall for the season, Jack Roslovic, you would think, double-digit goals already. A lot of people would have said, we'll take that. And now he's playing against his old team, Columbus. I think you see a good effort here from the Carolina side and a good chance for Roslovic to get on the scoreboard. So Jack Roslovic, Carolina, plus 300. That is going to be my bargain bin special of the night for this Sunday slate. All right, best bets. Alex, what do you like for best bet?
Let's go with that. Rangers and Blues over 6 minus 115, available at BetMGM and Caesars as well. I expect goals. We've seen goals in that series before, and like I said, even with Joel Holfer and Jonathan Quick, they're two of the better backups in the league, but they're still backup goalies, and I expect some chaos in the Gateway City here. So give me Rangers Blues over 6, my Sunday best bet.
All right, there you go. Rangers Blues over 6, best bet for Alex B. Smith. My best bet here for this Sunday card. This is one of those cards I like a few things. I don't love anything on this card, but we like a few things. So it's a like, don't love best bet. But by default, for me, it's going to be Columbus, Carolina over 6, minus 120. Canes off the shutout loss. Columbus is not keeping pucks out of the net right now, regardless of Tarasov or Merzlikins. They're giving up goals. Carolina's going to be probably really focused on getting things rolling again offensively after being blanked and shut out by Ottawa. But there's no shame in that after seeing how good Ottawa played again defensively, and Allmark in particular last night against Pittsburgh. So I think it's a response game offensively for Carolina. But I think Columbus offensively still good enough to chip in because they're still scoring goals in the majority of their games recently. And we do have the last 2 meetings going over between these two teams as well. So Jackets, Hurricanes, over 6 minus 120 for my best bet for this Sunday's NHL card. Shout out to everyone in the chat. We appreciate you guys very much. Hit the like button.
Gotta mention one more thing
tomorrow.
Got to mention one more thing, too.
Yeah.
Today is the last day to sign up for the High Holloway contest. We're going to be doing that drawing tomorrow on the show.
Yeah.
So we're going to announce the 6 winners. 5 people get gift cards. 1 person gets the box of my favorite things. That's the contest we've been running with Boston Hemp. So sign up for that. That's pinned at the Patreon page, available to the public. That's also pinned on our X page. So you'll have until we'll close the contest at 9 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. And then when we're going the show live, we will announce all the winners.
No doubt. So again, Twitter X account, right on the pinned post on that account, you'll see the giveaway details and how to sign up. And
we'll retweet it as well.
Page. Yeah, and we'll retweet it because again, today's got to enter before tomorrow because tomorrow's the draw, and we're going to announce the winners tomorrow on the Monday show at noon Eastern. So make sure, again, you're aware of the start time, noon Eastern. And by the way, in the new year, we're back to 2 p.m. Eastern on Mondays. But again, that won't be until the new year. So we're still on noon Eastern for the next few Mondays at least. Good stuff. And that will be our Bon Voyage show for Alex for at least a few days on tomorrow's show. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Tuesday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, Download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms: Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Sunday. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will be back with you tomorrow on Monday at noon Eastern for another edition of the Ice Guys.